Hi, good morning. Shilpa Ajwani is here as our Learning Monday guest today, and I'm so happy and delighted to have you here on the Learning Monday platform, Shilpa. Thank you.
Absolutely my pleasure, Deepa. I'm just back from a vacation, and this is the first conversation I am doing after my vacation. So, all fresh to speak with you, and excited and delighted to be with you on this special Monday.
Shilpa, you have been CEO of Tupperware, and you are, in a sense, pioneer of social marketing, even well before people were talking about it, or it was not even a mainstream word at that time. So tell me a little bit about what is it about people and networks, and what how is it different from the other businesses as we know them.
This is a question I always love to answer, Deepa. I'm glad we started with this. So they say that the social marketing, social selling is one of the oldest professions known to man, right? We all grew up with people coming home trying to sell us something or the other in the good old days. And it is also said that social selling became the first and original social network before we had the digital networks coming in. So basically, the big difference that I have seen in this business is the fact that it brings the power of collaboration, the power of so many minds and thoughts and actions together by facilitating so many different people coming together. And I always believe that 1 plus 1 is not 2, it is at least 111. So that is what it really leverages. And I have seen how beautiful it is when people come with the intention to grow in life and live a better lifestyle. And when they do that, they don't just do it for themselves, but for their entire family and community too. So that is what attracted me to this particular business model even before it became fashionable or was known, whether it was at Oriflame or at Tupperware, but I was the managing director. And I have seen that it is so universal because human emotions are universal. And that's where today, once again, especially during the pandemic, this particular model saw a new life, and people wanted connection, people wanted authentic conversations. The younger generation believe in word of mouth a lot,
Yeah.
right? More than advertising. So so this is all that is in a way for me coming back 360 degrees, that the model in its new digital and personal avatar is getting a lot of traction. And I always like to say I love it now because it is high touch and high tech.
Yeah.
So we combine two very beautiful worlds together to satisfy the consumer and delight them, as well as remunerate the seller in a fantastic manner as well. I have seen lives change completely.
You must have seen this up close, and I think with Oriflame, the origins are Swedish, so you must have also got exposed to different cultures, global sellers, international audiences. How did you see those experiences, and what is it that you needed to bring back as you were building teams in India? What is it that we either lacked or we needed to do differently, or maybe even take pride in what we were doing?
So with Oriflame, I had the privilege of being associated with it when it was a baby in India from the startup stage, right? Literally working out of our first basement, few of us cobbled together. Nobody knew what that model would be or how big this brand would become in the country at that point in time. But what really attracted me towards the brand was the fact that I found the Scandinavian culture a culture of equality, of equity. There was transparency in communication. There was absolutely no feeling of hierarchies that were formal, traditional. And there was always the intent to foster entrepreneurship and share best practices. So I felt that this was a culture that was treating people as equal, and very different from our organizations in India back then in our early to mid 90s, right? Which were fairly hierarchical, formal structures, top down in many ways. The talk of values wasn't so prominent, and purpose wasn't a word that we had really heard in our business world at that time. And I was fortunate to be exposed to all of these. And as I traveled, because the business was there in more than 60 countries at that point in time, for Oriflame especially, and then subsequently with Forework, which is also a German direct sales group, very big, where I worked with them, and then eventually Tupperware. I saw the fact that different cultures, of course, have their own uniqueness. But in a way, if you are ready to embrace all the good that they have to offer and look within, you will find that there is common ground. People have the same needs everywhere. And I have worked a lot with women and built a lot of women communities as well during my entire profession. And that is something which I found fascinating, that, world over, it's exactly the same, right? And more same than we would give credit to different cultures, countries. In today's very divided world, I often go back to how I have built business. And inclusion is a word people are being forced to learn. But to me, that's the most beautiful way, creating inclusion, creating belonging, which I think is so, so impressive and so beautiful. I wish more people would learn that there's beauty in that, and there's growth in that, collaborative growth.
So you got exposed initially to the Scandinavian cultures, then you got exposed to the German way of doing things. So what was that added to your growth as a leader, Shilpa?
So I think moving from the Scandinavian culture to the German culture was very, very interesting. And, though Forework is a German group, I was working for their American division, and I had a Brazilian CEO at that time. So it couldn't have been more diverse than that, honestly. And Mexico was the biggest market for that business at that point in time. So it was like you were swimming in a sea of cultures and ideas. Also, a lot of them were very innovative ideas. So what I found here was that, of course, very high quality, high precision, attention to detail, all of it, which are the great German, hallmarks. And they leave that imprint on everything they make or talk about. But together with the American division and its entrepreneurship and its ability to galvanize masses and to touch the core of people wherever they are in the world, whether it was Indonesia, which became like a startup baby for us, just as I was about to leave that organization, a beautiful experience, or the giant that Mexico was. I think one saw that, again, I would go back and say that you can make any business work anywhere in the world. Just the intent has to be right. The values have to be what people identify with and live every day. And the purpose of the organization has to be very, very strong.
Fantastic. I think it gives me goosebumps when I hear you talk about just the scale and the width and the variety of your exposure. And then you decided to take up the Tupperware opportunity. So what attracted you to that opportunity? What did that experience build and add to your growth?
I think the Tupperware opportunity came to me at a very interesting point in life, where, I had taken businesses from startup to scale and looked at it multidimensionally, multiculturally, also innovatively. And I think I was ready for what Tupperware had in store. Now, Tupperware is a 70 years plus iconic brand. We all know that, right? And across the world, they had a model that was very successful all these years, a pretty universal model. And it's impressive how much traction it received year on year, apart from the products that we all loved, right? But the job I had cut out for me at Tupperware was that of business transformation. Because what we felt was that, especially in India, 2014 onwards, we had seen a lot of disruption in our communication channels, disruption in how consumers chose to buy products. The younger millennials, the Gen Zs were, becoming a reality in our whole marketing conversations, and the organization just had to get geared up to contemporize itself and to make sure that the supply chains were more agile, the product portfolio had relevance, our communication and the use of technology was something that needed definitely an upgrade. And also, could we look at a more omni-channel approach rather than the traditional direct sales model? So I think it was a very beautiful journey, of course, supported by our global, headquarters, the regional headquarters, group presidents. I think everybody sort of jumped into it with really the feeling that we want to keep the DNA of this wonderful brand alive, and yet we want to give a contemporary offering to both the consumer as well as our sales force. And in India, we are 100%, all women sales force. So I think that was very, very creditable to see that how open they were to adopting change and to understanding that yes, these are times where I cannot operate the way I was 15 years ago or 20 years ago. I need to make a change. And they were so open to coming to trainings, understanding how technology works. And I felt a genuine partnership, with our distributors, with my team there, and the entire Tupperware family. So that really helped me evolve as also a business transformational leader. And it was tough because any transformation is time consuming, requires a lot of perseverance, diligence, and commitment. And as a leader, I could not lose sight of what were we really going towards. And I had to keep myself and the team really focused. And the world around us was changing constantly, so it was so dynamic. And within that, VUCA world, like we all know it now, one had to learn how to not just survive but thrive and enjoy the Tupperware experience.
So the pinnacle, I think, was in 2017 when you received the award, Shilpa, the CEO of the Year award. I don't know why I've become so big. You're the one who's supposed to be all big on the screen right now.
You're asking the question. The person who asked the questions is always having the power. Now, see, now my turn. All right. I think, it is always a validation when you are recognized, especially within an industry which was fairly new for me. And this was the Economic Times Polymers Awards, which are, I think, a regular feature, and the industry looks forward to seeing, okay, who's the winner this year. And for us at Tupperware, it came as a big surprise because I felt that the brand definitely needed the recognition, and every year it should win for sure. But the biggest surprise came when they said that as a managing director, we want to recognize you and your contribution, of course, to your brand, but also back to the industry. So that felt very special. And together with my team, I remember I flew down from Delhi to Mumbai for that gorgeous evening. Amidst all the stars of the industry that evening. So yes, it's a special memory. Pinnacle, I do not know, but I think awards have always grounded me and made me feel even more responsible that your work's getting noticed. It is impacting people. So make sure that you do enough so that you continue to stay deserving and worthy and make an impact.
No, that's very powerfully said, and very wise words, Shilpa,
Thank you.
because these things, could typically move a person away from their center, just the exhilaration and the excitement, and being able to take the team and also the word you use, be worthy of the future
Yeah.
accolades that will come your way.
Yeah.
Shilpa, you started a company in 2019, a year before the pandemic, called
Yes,
Unomantra. Yeah.
yes.
Uh, Tell us a little bit about when that thought first came to your mind that you needed to do something by yourself.
So Deepa, I think in my entire career, I would have worked with more than 500,000 entrepreneurs, micro entrepreneurs, and what really I'm passionate about is leadership, is entrepreneurship, is purpose. And that's my big word, because I feel if your why is really answered, and that's why I was so happy when Simon Sinek gave me the language to talk about it.
Wow.
Um, to me, I think this was something which came as perhaps a natural evolution of not just my career, but my life. And I said that there has to be more to my life's work, and there has to be more to my life vision than just serving the corporates that I have so dutifully served in the last 25 odd years. So after quarter of a century's experience, as I say it, which made me go around the world, and I must have spent half my life in an airplane somewhere, flying in and out. I think you become reflective, and all that me time, forced me time, makes you think a lot. So in the last couple of years, as we were transforming the business in Tupperware, and I happened to have a birthday, and on that birthday evening, as we cut the cake and everything was nice and fancy, a thought came in my mind, which seemed really to tug at me harder this
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that really thought was that, I've been blessed with success all this while in my life. It's been a life of privilege, hard work, but really a lot of getting back in so many beautiful ways. How do I convert this life of success into a life of significance? And I think just asking myself that question made it very concrete for me, that this is how I would want the next phase of my journey to look like. I wasn't sure of what I would call the firm or what I exactly would be doing, but I think, that birthday planted that seed that now it's time to, spread the wings, go and serve the future bigger brands, and create iconic ones that are built on purpose, that are built on, really serving people, the planet, and of course, that particular organization as well. And how could I do that? And as I started to think deeper and delve deeper into the how of it, Uno Mantra came about, yeah, as a baby who was waiting to be born and serve the world. And that's where today Uno Mantra is a business strategy consulting and leadership advisory firm. I love to work with consumer and lifestyle businesses that touch our lives as consumers on an everyday basis. So, whether it is beauty and personal care, health and wellness, which became so important, more important, I would say, in the last year or two, as well as food and beverages, fashion, and lifestyle accessories. I mean, fun things, but built purposefully. That's what I drive today.
Wow, that's a great story, Shilpa. And even I think our audience is responding. Smita Vyas Kumar says, even about your gifts, the award, she says, such a unique thought. Rewards ground you, what you've said. I had always thought rewards can make you feel you have achieved a high, but you turned the thought on its head. Thank you. I think I knew that was something that was so big, Shilpa, that you've left with all of us. Very powerful message. Also, when you talk about embracing a life now from success to significance, and when you define significance, you are talking about future businesses that you want to serve, and you're also a leadership coach, just as you are a business coach. And tell us how the name Uno Mantra came to be and your logo, and what's your inspiration for your logo.
Sure. So having built brands and being very, very particular that everything, should be done with intention, attention, and then execution. I really wanted to walk the talk and took a fair bit of time in coming up with the name Uno Mantra. Since I knew that this would be about strategy consulting and leadership advisory, I wanted to also, in the name of the company, say that it has to be about also who I am serving, right? So that I'm always very conscious, and all my actions, which would be to serve them, would be a reminder just by calling out the name of this company. So Uno mantra, really, Uno we all know is number one, and mantra is something which you repetitively use, or I actually construed that as strategy, which is nothing but really planning for action, which has a long term impact, right? So this is basically going back and I purpose, and whether you are a leader, a team, or an organization. So go back and discover your own purpose and grow to your best version, to your Uno version, coming out of that purpose.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what Uno Mantra really means, and that's what I love to do when I work and serve my clients today. That whether, again, like I say, you are a leader, you're a team, you're an organization, you are blessed with a purpose, right? You exist for a reason, and I help you to uncover that, and again give words to that, so that all of you feel connected, and can really work on that with one voice and one heart, and all the hands will then automatically join together. It's not forced. And what does it do? It helps to make you your best version, because there is only one you. Whether you are you as Deepa, I am me as Shilpa, or it's a team or it's an organization. There is only one of us on this planet. So we need to become our best version. So that's Uno Mantra. The logo has a sign of infinity in red. And I hope people can see that on the screen as well. Infinity stands for infinite growth opportunities
Okay.
that we all have, right? Infinity to me, and remember, Uno Mantra was born in 2019, way before we had heard of COVID, right? But infinity to me also meant that flexibility and that agility that we all need to show as people, as leaders, as teams, as organizations today, to again grow and establish our potential in this world. So that's what the infinity logo there means. But the two dots are very interesting, and I put them there as guardrails. One
Uh-huh.
stands for values, and the other stands for purpose. So if you are guided and constantly guarded by your values and your purpose, infinite growth opportunities are available for you, me, everybody on our planet.
And why are they black dots?
They are black because they will take everything which the environment will hurl at you, right? And they will be strong, and they will be there as a guiding force. And if you go by the Indian culture, black also wards away the evil eye, right? So for the superstitious mind, that's also where the black denotes some relevance.
So Shilpa, when you, like you said, we didn't know the pandemic was going to hit us in 2020, and your fledgling company was a year old at that time.
Yes.
What did the pandemic teach you as a startup for yourself? How did you work in those times? What did you shed, if at all? What did you imbibe newly? Maybe you can just share that with our viewers.
Sure. So I think the year 2020 became a year of, again, deeper reflection for me, Deepa.
I think we just lost Shilpa, and Shilpa is the founder of Unomantra, the company that she founded in 2019 as an advisory to help businesses. Uh, she has a career spanning 25 years where she led large companies which were in the social marketing space. And Shilpa and I met over LinkedIn, and I was fascinated by her journey. I was seeing somebody who was pioneering this whole field of social marketing and social selling, and has an experience that is in a sense, predates the digital marketing networks that we know today. Yes, Smita, of course, intention, attention, execution, that is a slogan. Shilpa has a way of, with words, she speaks extremely well. And there is this uh, a calm that sort of it sort of belies and underlies this uh, very powerful persona that she has. So it's almost as if that uh, gives her that kind of strength. Shilpa also, I hope she comes back soon because I would like her to tell you the story. So yesterday, Valentine's Day, Shilpa had put up a post on LinkedIn, and she said that her baby is 2 years old, and she wrote about it. And uh, I'm every day she has some image, usually the photographs that she takes herself, and something that she writes on LinkedIn that I have always found uh, very inspiring, thought provoking, and in a mode of being very generous in sharing with her experiences and sharing with her wisdom. When she talks about diversity and inclusion, or says that inclusion today is a forced word. Yes, Shilpa, you're back. I was trying to keep
I'm
the
back
audience.
connecting via
Yes,
phone.
welcome,
Yes,
welcome. And
thank
I
you.
think you want to keep your phone horizontal so we can get you on the whole
I could
screen.
do that.
Let's
I can
attempt.
even
Yeah.
try if my laptop would allow me to. Yes.
Yes. Don't worry. Yeah, here you are. Good.
So, what a timing for this to happen, Deepa. I think this tells the story of the pandemic and our lives.
Absolutely.
That just what you wanted to do and to achieve, I think something put, your plans into completely the back burner, and other things became a higher priority. So the same was for me, having a startup business. When you found something, you become a new entrepreneur. The first year is tough, and you look forward to the second year to give you respite and growth,
Yes.
and that scale. And that happens to then become a pandemic year with no end in sight. So I think all the lessons that my professional experience might have left out in some way or the other, or
Hmm.
would have taught that to me theoretically, I learned it, I lived it all through 2020. And this time, my responsibility wasn't just towards my own business, but towards my clients. And to me, I think I had almost zero reaction time, because when you are working in the consumer and lifestyle businesses, very quickly we had to jump in and figure out what did non-essentials mean. How would we of the pandemic. Are you still able to hear me well?
I can hear you, Shilpa.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please let me know if we have a further interruption. Uh, but for me, I think this became challenging in so many ways, because when you have different clients, they come from different industries. All of them saw disruption in different, ways and means. Some of them were very import intensive, and imagine what that does to your business when your containers are parked somewhere and you have no access to your products, and the government allows it under essential goods to be still sold, right? So there was that one extreme there. The other extreme was who were playing with changing rules every day. and whether it was I mean something that we had laid out as strategy which was supposedly good for the next 3 years, it just disappeared in the next 30 days of being formulated. So how do you go back and create a new blueprint that would be relevant? So I think from the client side I had to show extreme agility, make sure that their morale is up, because a lot of them were leaders who had never faced crisis, especially the younger leaders, and this was their first big crisis of life and business both. So I had to literally hold their hand, make sure that they did not lose hope, and continue to work and plod through the whole pandemic to make sure that we were able to pivot if we needed to. We were able to hold it out. We were able to make sure that the employees were safeguarded, and the whole business could migrate as virtual as possible, with very little loss, of all kinds. So from the client side, that was something that was quite challenging to do. My father-in-law happened to become very unwell, and thankfully, just before the lockdown, they had moved very close to where I live, and that came as something which was, of course, a big disappointment, because we'd always seen him as the most active person who could put any of us to shame with his energy levels. Yeah, seeing him like that was heartbreaking. But to me, it also became a blessing, because I don't think all these years I could spend so much time with him by his bedside, just sitting and talking and listening to stories which went back 80 years, right? And he literally took me era through era of his life, his journey, his challenges. He's been an entrepreneur as well, and someone who's passionate about sports, about movies, music. So I think I was so enriched and blessed to be in his company all those months and tend to him while I tended to Unomantra and my family. My son had his class 12 examinations. Can you imagine that in a pandemic year? The boards just refused to happen, and then the results refused to come out, and then the entrance exams wouldn't happen. So how do you take an 18-year-old boy and continue to keep him excited about his future, and make sure that we as a family take the right decisions under very difficult and trying circumstances? But today, again, with God's blessings, he's sitting in London studying law, which is what he wanted to do. He did very well in his board examinations, and he's out there learning new things and what life has to teach. London was great when he left, and imagine that's in a lockdown today. We are not. So surprises never end. But I think it's really showed me that when times are tough, the tough get going, and I did get going.
I'm so grateful and heartened that you shared these personal vignettes, because a lot of times leaders showcase a professional side. They are not as much forthcoming of their vulnerabilities. And I think the pandemic also made us that much more open, both men and women leaders,
Yes.
to talk about life and to talk about life and work and the way they meld together. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Really beautiful. Shilpa, you also set up She Mantra, a community of for women leaders. So tell us about that, and how did the idea come up to set up this group, and what's your purpose behind putting this group together?
Sure. So, Deepa, She Mantra is a pandemic baby, born in June, July of 2020. As I was working with my clients, I could see that a lot of them are well resourced. They have teams to support them even in the midst of a bad crisis. And they have other sort of consultants and support mechanisms to bail them out one way or the other. When I looked at a lot of the women led, especially the coaching and consulting businesses in India, my research told me that they were either run as solopreneurships or as very small sized firms, right? And I started to think that, how would they be looking at this pandemic? We all know that women had a much bigger role to play also at home suddenly, when everything was put in a lockdown at virtually no notice. How would they learn to migrate their entire businesses? What would happen to new business development for them? Who would support them in tough times when there is home calling and there is work calling, and a lot of them work across time zones? Um, how are they even living life, and what is their way out? So all those questions really led me to fine tuning that idea, giving it the form and shape of She Mantra, which is a community for women-led coaching and consulting firms. And I wanted to keep it very specialized and bring in women of high quality seasoning, experience, and expertise together. Because if we again collaborate, and like I said before, 1 plus 1 to me is 111. So this came very naturally that rather than each of us fighting our own battles in a tough period, let's collectively attack. The enemy is always outside, never within. And what can we do so that we support each other for our mutual personal growth as well as professional growth? So that's the purpose of She Mantra, to really enable and empower women-led coaching and consulting businesses to thrive as a result of personal and professional growth of each of our She Mantrans, as we call ourselves. And to do that in meaningful ways, and to do that in holistic ways, and give access to support, emotional and intellectual, spiritual, of all kinds, that will come together and make each woman perform like she's never done before. So it's really about again going back to our best version, and finding a support system, a sisterhood, to be able to do that with aplomb and confidence.
So marvelous. So you have spoken about reflection, you've spoken about in me time, you've talked about your family, your profession, your work. There are only 24 hours in a day. How do you manage yourself, your time? What are some of your mantras for making the most of your day?
Sure. When I was living the corporate life, a lot of that gets dictated because you work out of India, you've got a regional headquarter based out of Singapore, which is ahead of you time wise, and then if the global headquarters are in the US, you are between 10 and 12 hours behind, right? I mean, they are behind, and then you are ahead. So a lot of your time isn't your time. But I think as an entrepreneur, I was very conscious of the fact that I definitely wanted, a better work-life integration for myself. And one of the ways I do that, Deepa, is to really write down my priorities. And I go back and revisit them several times, because those could change over a period of time too, right? And there are times where there would be work which will be completely consuming you, but there would be time where you would want to spend that time with family, or with your own self. And I've become more mindful of what I give, not just my time but my energy too as well. So that's the other thing. So once you know your priorities, it becomes easy to say a yes or no to something. It's not a blind decision; it's a very mindful decision. Thirdly, doing a kind of an audit of what I wanted to do versus what did I really do. I think one has to be a little bit candid and very disciplined about it. But to me, I think that audit done periodically is a very, very helpful tool to tell me that this was the intent, but this was the actual action, right? Before we jump in and say, oh, where are the results? Oh, why haven't I lost those 2 kilos? Because you didn't get up early and you didn't do your exercise. As simple as that. And that answer would come back at me. And from this year, I have also, together with the She Mantra community, worked on our resolutions together. And we are all budding up and supporting each other to make sure that our resolutions stay intact and we start making measurable difference to whatever we decided to change in our lives. So to me, I'm thankful to that support system, our angels in the pods that we operate in today there at She Mantra. And it's a win-win for me, honestly. And that's another thing that is keeping me accountable and productive.
Marvelous. So, Shilpa, these reflections, because I know you are always writing and thinking, does that become a book? Is that something you're planning to do? What is it that you're uh, two or three big things you're working for this year? And as we are in the last 5 minutes, I want to kind of shepherd you into giving us some mantras for us to remember to go by.
Right. So even if I use the word mantra a lot, I don't like to prescribe, Deepa. I like to say I like to share and not
Lovely.
prescribe. But I think the book is an interesting one. And more than me telling myself that there should be one, the universe is telling me. So every few days, there is somebody or the other who comes in and talks about when is your book coming out. So I think by the end of this year, I will have at least kind of an outline. I know what I want to write about. There are a couple of great ideas. I've not really, you know, taken out the time yet to really think about it as a book. For me, right now, they take the form of a lot of spontaneous free form posts that I put out on social media. To me, those are thought triggers, but eventually, some of them would take the form and shape of blogs or books. So that's something in the future. Maybe not this year, but definitely by the next year, there will be some more concrete steps towards that. Keep pushing me.
When you're low and you kind of don't have the energy, you talked about managing time and energy. What is the way, or what are your tools to lift yourself up by yourself? Or do you seek the help of anybody significant in your life to help you get up? Does that happen to you?
Absolutely, Deepa. I'm as human as anybody else, and of course that happens. There are great days, and there are also low days or very introspective days where you don't have the answers. You have a lot of questions, but you don't have answers. And my favorite go-to person is my own mother. Right, I'm very close to her. She is a big inspirational force in my life. Also for the reason that she gave up her career when I was born. So those were not the years where women could really go out and do jobs while managing children, especially when you did not want to leave your child with a nanny or under somebody else's care. So she really chose to be a stay-at-home mom after having made a fantastic career. So I think I'll take a lot of values from my parents, and my mother remains my favorite go-to person, the first go-to person, right? And many years ago, I heard something quite beautiful. It said that when you are up, look down, and when you are down, look up, which simply means that the days I have great energy and I'm vivacious and have everything sorted, then I should go and pay it forward and be that person for somebody else. But the day I'm down and out myself, my mother would be the first go to person. I have a very busy husband, so our times don't really match when we should be there ideally for each other. But my son has played that role very, very beautifully. So he is my mirror, he is my best critic, and he's also my go-to person to share my highs and lows. And then of course there would be friends, well-wishers. I also rely on a lot of things which I read, which I listen to, and I have deep gratitude for everybody who shapes up and comes in my life suddenly the day I need them, whoever they might be.
Shilpa, what a lovely talk it's been, full of nuggets and vignettes, a look into your personality, and uh, really to take away. And I'm sure everyone who's watched this live or who will watch this recording will have a couple of things that they want to go back, listen again, and apply on their life, to their own life goals. And like you said, it's really about a very purposeful way in which you manage your day, your time, your priorities, and the way you've made closest allies of your family, people you can rely on. And I'm sure you feed off each other's energy and are a source of enormous pride and inspiration for each other, as you are for the larger community and world at large. Thank you so much, Shilpa, for coming here today and being our Lumiere Learning Monday guest.
Thank you, Deepa. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. All credit, if people love this, goes to Deepa Soman, because I really admire the way you triggered my thoughts. You took me back to beautiful aspects of my life journey. And you made it so rich by asking all the right questions, which would add value to the audience too. I do have to apologize if there was this slight technical issues at my end today, but I think we kept at it, and your smile is so reassuring in the midst of it all that I want to hear so many more of your Monday conversations. May the learning just never end. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me today.
High touch, high tech conversation. Listen to
Absolutely.
Shilpa. Really, I mean, marvelous. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you. Same to you as well. And
Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye bye.
bye bye. Have a great week ahead.
Have a
Bye.
good week. Bye.